I'm Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter. I'm the head coach for Job Search CoachingHQ.com and NoBSCoachingAdvice.com. And I do career and leadership coaching. I worked in recruiting for more than 40 years. And I'm here today with some no BS hiring advice to help you as an HR professional, hiring manager, small business owner be more effective and more successful in your work. I was listening to a podcast interview today from a very unlikely source, Rich Dad Radio. And Kim Kiyosaki was interviewing a guest who is fabulous, a guy named John Dorsey, GenHQ.com. And you ought to listen to the entire interview, which is called, bear with me, I moved my phone over for a second. Oh, I also turned it off. Just look for Gen Z as part of the search criteria for Rich Dad. And I'll just simply say it was really, really exciting to talk about a completely different population cohort than the millennials. And let me explain what I learned. And you really ought to listen to the show in its entirety. It was remarkable. So, first of all, to understand this population cohort, the oldest of them was born in 1996. As a result, they really have no relationship with 9/11. For someone like me who was in New York at that time, and for many people I know, 9/11 is a hugely dramatic event. But their first real impact item is the Great Recession. And as such, they're very much a throwback generation, closer to boomers in their behavioral qualities than to millennials. So I took some notes down, and they also have a report on their website, genhq.com, that you can get for free. I don't know that you really need it unless you're in marketing, because I'm not really going to cover that piece of it. I just want to look at it from the workplace perspective and from the hiring perspective. So, as I mentioned, they're a throwback generation, and what they look for is relatively conservative values. Now, if you want them to apply for a job, first of all, it has to be mobile friendly. It has to be a 15-minute or less process. And third of all, if they're interrupted, they have to have the ability to save what they've already done, or else they're never coming back. And frankly, I've been telling you this for years. And this has nothing to do with Gen Z. This is just common courtesy. You want someone to go back and repeat an application process because your systems people were too lazy to create a save function for them? Give me a break here, okay? Now, from a historical perspective, what has been more profound for them behaviorally is having the first African American president, the first female candidate for president, and same-sex marriage. This has nothing to do with their politics, but their historical context and how they think. They don't remember a time before social media. Catch that one. They're the first all-digital population cohort. Because they grew up during the Great Recession, they saw their parents struggle and older friends struggle. As a result, they tend to be fiscally conservative. Translated, you're not going to be able to snow them with nonsense when you try to hire them. They're going to cut to the chase pretty quickly. As a population group, 12% of them are saving for retirement at this stage. Catch that one. This is for people who were born in 1996 and more recently. And as of the time that I'm recording this at the end of 2018, I find this an astonishing percentage. They don't want debt. And as a result, they're more likely to be renting, and that includes cars too. This is not a generation that is buying cars or getting driver's licenses. And as such, for those of you who are in suburban areas or rural areas, it's a harder workforce for you to attract because they don't have a way of getting to work. They're more likely to use Uber and Lyft for transportation, or services like Car2Go, than they are to own a car. As I said, the site has to be mobile friendly. The application has to be relatively brief. Now, here's a great section. They tend to be more stability seeking. Now, the reason I thought this was so profound is because they grew up in the Great Recession, because they saw people struggle, they don't want to be changing jobs all the time. And that's actually a flip for where Dorsey thinks of most people generationally. Usually it's the younger worker that wants to change jobs with frequency. They don't. That's more the millennial group. Gen Z is looking for a place where they can put down roots. They want to be learning right away. It's not like the millennials where one of the caricatures was after 1 week they want to be made a manager. Gen Z knows that they don't know much, so they want to be learning right away, and they want feedback. So feedback doesn't have to be the formal assessment process with them. Feedback can be something as simple as a text that lets them know that they're doing well, or that there are things that they might have done better. So again, always learning. Because they want to put down roots and they understand that there are things they need to know, one of the things that they understand they need to do a better job of is communicating face to face. And as such, think in terms of public speaking situations. A typical meeting is a public speaking thing. So they need supports around that, and whether it comes in the form of formal training or encouragement to go to Toastmasters, again, Gen Z wants this and needs to get this sort of support pretty early on. One of the things I thought was interesting was a comment about millennials managing Gen Z and some of the issues that might show up, because for millennials, they never received criticism or adverse feedback. They don't know how to necessarily give it. So the millennial manager who tends to do best is the one who's really been trained into management and who knows how to give praise and knows how to give constructive criticism. Again, not having received a lot of it, they often need supports in order to be effective in working with Gen Z. The thought was that Gen Z as a population cohort can leapfrog the millennial generation in a lot of organizations because they're less likely to change jobs. They are hard workers. They are very much like the boomers in this regard. So the boomers are going to relate well to them and feel good about passing the baton on to them more than they might to the millennial cohort. So the way to reach them from a recruiting standpoint is through digital media. And again, well, there's one thing I didn't say yet. A lot of them are finding out about jobs through friends and family. The statistic was pretty striking. 60% are finding out about opportunities through friends and family and people that they know. This is what we classically call networking, but for them it's just the nature of their relationships, and those can be online as much as interpersonal. So you have to be prepared to reach them digitally, because once they get this connection with the friends or family, an introduction through someone that they know, the way they do background verification or confirmation of this being a good place to work, they do it through YouTube, they do it through Insta, and they do it through Snap. And the result winds up being most older population groups don't think of those as media. I've been talking about YouTube in this regard for years, that most organizations have to start thinking of their YouTube presence and how they present themselves there. And this is clearly a population group that wants to find out things that way. I'll just simply conclude by saying there is a lot that you'll find very exciting about hiring this population group. They are hard workers. They want to do well. Like I said, very much a throwback. However, what you want to also be doing constantly there is giving them opportunities to learn. Learning can't take the form of the old ways. Don't think books. Think, although some do read, quite obviously. But at the same time, think in terms of video. Think in terms of training along those lines, because this group, again, they're a digital first generation. And as such, you have to learn to communicate in the way that they can receive, not in the way that you can receive. And conversely, you want to teach them how you want to be communicated with, because they don't instinctively know. It's a different group, and you have to deal with them differently. So again, from a job perspective, always think in terms of digital media and what your brand or reputation is online, because they're going to be checking. And you never want to burn a bridge with an employee, because these are the folks who will cut you down to size pretty quickly. And that's really what I want to cover for today. Again, Rich Dad Radio, an interview with John Dorsey of GenerationHQ.com. GenHQ.com. Great interview. Go to their website. I think you'll learn a lot overall. I'm Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter. If you're interested in my coaching you, reach out to me through LinkedIn. Connect with me on LinkedIn, as a matter of fact, at linkedin.com/IN/the Big Game Hunter. Mention that you saw this video, because I like knowing that I'm helping some folks. Beyond that, if you'd like me to coach you or someone on your team, reach out to me. We'll schedule a time for a free discovery call. I'd love to help you. Have a great day. Take care.